What is going on, guys? My name is Sena and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys and also showing you guys how to play Chamber. Now, I've been playing Chamber basically since he came out, and I'd consider myself a Chamber main, so over all of the months that I've been spending playing him, I've learned some really nice setups and TP spots that have helped me in ranked. I think Chamber might be the best agent in the game right now, so if you aren't abusing him, what are you doing? So make sure you guys stick around till the end of the video so you know how to play Chamber on every map and dominate your games. Right before we get into the video though, guys, I want to take a moment to thank Valorant Tracker for sponsoring this video. I've actually been using Valorant Tracker for a while now to track my in-game stats and performance to see how I need to improve. After I downloaded Valorant Tracker, I was able to see my agent win rates, agent stats, headshot percentages, KD ratios, map win rates, and so much more. It also has a really cool and useful feature where you could actually see all of your teammates' ranks, KDs, stats, and everything like that while you're in game with them. By clicking the live match button in the Valorant Tracker overlay, it actually displays a scoreboard of your team and the enemy team with all of their ranks and stats. Not only can you get all of this information about yourself and the people in your game, but you can also click on the guides button in the Valorant Tracker overlay to see videos on lineups and strats with every single agent in the game. If all of that stuff wasn't cool enough already, Valorant Tracker is completely free and you don't need to pay a single penny to get access to all of these tools and resources. Valorant Tracker is one of the greatest tools that you can use to visualize your improvement and performance. If you want to take your skill to the next level, go down in the description or in the pinned comment and download Valorant Tracker today. Thank you again to Valorant Tracker for sponsoring this video, and with all of that being said, guys, let's get right back into the video. I'm going to be going down the list in alphabetical order of all of the maps in Valorant and how to play Chamber on those maps. If you guys have watched my Jet entry guide, this video is going to be really similar to that. Except in this video, I'm excluding Split and putting in Pearl instead because Split obviously isn't in the ranked pool anymore. And just quickly before we jump into the first map, I wanted to thank you guys so much for all of the support that you guys have been showing on the channel recently. We're getting so close to that 100K mark and it honestly just doesn't feel real. Even if you just watch my videos or you like them or subscribe, any support that you show means the world to me. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. Now let's start off with the first map on the list, which is Ascent. I do play Chamber on Ascent quite a bit and there are some pretty good setups that you can do. By the way, I'm going to be always doing A site first, then B site for all of these setups. Now the reason why I really like Chamber is because he has both an aggressive and a defensive playstyle depending on how your enemies are playing or how you feel like playing. For most of these sites, I'm going to be showing you guys a aggressive playstyle setup and a defensive setup as well. For a site Ascent, on pistol round, usually what I like to do is I'll just set up a teleporter on Heaven and then I'll set up my other one right on A main. This setup basically allows me to take an early fight A main and then dip back if I have to. I like this early aggression because on pistol round, you don't really need to rely on your trip that much. Most of the time, I like to play a little bit more passive on Chamber just because I don't want to die and give up that valuable information, which is the trademark, but on pistol round, we can kind of ignore that. I know that I have one of the best abilities for taking an early fight, so on pistol round, this is usually what I do. On gun rounds, I prefer to play Cat with Chamber because I feel like I have a little bit more leeway with my TP. Usually, I'll put my TP right here next to the door in tree, or sometimes I'll put it more back in garden. I like doing this because I have someone on A holding A main, but I can also kind of play these different off angles on Cat and catch people by surprise when they think that they have a lurk into tree. I set up my other TP on Heaven so that if I take a fight and I need to get out, I can TP to Heaven and then peek out Heaven and help my A player hold off the people coming in through A main or something like that. You could also put your other TP in spawn or closer to B in case they're going B and you want to make a quick rotate. I just like how versatile Chamber is with these setups and the different stuff that you can do. Cat is also a nice spot to play because whenever I'm opping, I love to peek tiles from Cat, and this spot is just basically built for Chamber. I opp a lot on chamber, which is kind of what he's built for, but he's also really good for rifling in these spots as well. It really just depends whether or not my Jett wants to op. And one more spot that's really good on A is I like to put my TP right in this cubby, which is called Caboose, and people have a really hard time clearing this for some reason, and it's a really underrated spot, and you can get a lot of easy free kills here. This video is going to be so long if I take forever to talk about every site, so I'm going to move on here to B site Ascent. B site is also a very good spot for chamber to play. The only issue is it's kind of hard to get away with opping here if you're going against a good team. Typically you're going to get omen blinded B main, and they're going to drone and dart you, and it's just going to be terrible, and they're going to push you off that angle.
No, the omen blind. Not the omen blind.
One spot that I really do like to play though is I like to play lane with my TP on site. I'll play lane and I'll put my TP underneath lane so that I can quickly get out, and I'll put my other TP either in CT or back site. I feel like putting the TP back site is a really underrated move because you can dip out if you need to and you'll still be on site and they'll still have to re-clear you. This can be really risky though if they hear you TP back site, so it just really depends on how smart the people you're playing against are. Also, a more standard setup that I do a lot is putting my TP on stairs, and then I'll either play stairs or sometimes I'll play this off angle on top of switch. Either one works really well, and I do this a lot. Market is also not a bad spot to play with chamber. I just prefer lane and stairs a little bit more because you're more on site and it's easier to take a fight there, but it's really up to you. These are just the setups that I most often use. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that I'll be telling you guys where to put the trip for each map as well to get the most value. On Ascent, I think pretty much the universal trip position is right here in Pizza. This basically just makes it so nobody can lurk up mid, and it makes it really easier to hold down sites because you can have more people looking main and your mid is pretty much covered. I still do think that playing mid with an op or something like that will help you win as well. It's really up to however your team is feeling. Moving on from Ascent, let's talk about the next map, which is Bind. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't really play Chamber on Bind all that much, but I do know that it's one of his strongest maps. When I am playing Chamber on Bind for A site, I like to set up one TP on top of truck and then the other one in heaven so that whenever I'm opping short, I can take a shot, TP out, and then go back to heaven and then re-peek to take another shot. Showers is also an insanely good spot to play with chamber. He can hold it down really well. One TP that I see a lot of people do is they'll put one of them in U-Haul and then the other one in this cubby on B site. This makes it so that you can basically instantly flip sites, which is really useful, but these TP spots are kind of sketchy if the enemies have control of site. You can do this if you want, but typically I don't really do this because I prefer to just have a lockdown setup for one site. U-Haul is another great spot to hold down with chamber on A site. You can put one in U-Haul and then one in heaven and kind of control that area. Again, I don't really play chamber too much on Bind. I usually play Jett, but these are some of the setups that I do use when I am playing chamber. Moving on to B site. Let's talk about some setups. B site is an interesting one because you can really get aggressive and you can also really get defensive, and both playstyles work really well for this site. If I'm feeling aggressive or I'm opping or something, I'll put a TP down long and then I'll put another one in elbow and then I'll kind of hold an off angle here. This is kind of sketchy though if you don't really have anyone baiting for you, because if they have a fade dog or a Sova drone or basically any type of util, you're kind of screwed. I feel like hookah is a really underrated spot to play as well. There's a lot of off angles that you can play in there and it's a really safe bet. Again though, you're really susceptible to get util dumped, so make sure you're ready to TP out if you do hear that util coming. A setup that I like to do a lot when I'm going up against a fade is I'll be opping and then I'll have someone else play with me in hookah, and he'll shoot the dog for me and then I'll take the shot so that we can kind of get a pick like that. Making sure you're calming to your teammates and letting them know what you're doing and how they can help, if they can throw util for you, if they can break util for you. It's really important to be communicating with your team. And for a more defensive playstyle on this site, what I like to do is I like to put my TP on top of the main container box on site. From here, I can peek into hookah or long, depending on where my other teammates are playing at. Usually I'll have my Jett posted up long with an op, or someone posted up long ready to pop flash, and I'll be playing up here holding the hookah run out, and I'm safe from util and all that. Again, really nice spots that you can play with chamber on this map. As far as the trip goes, it really just depends on what your team is holding and where your teammates are playing. I see a lot of people put a trip down on short, some people put a trip for showers, some people put a trip under hookah. I see people basically put their trip everywhere on this map. I would talk to your team and just ask where they want the trip and what they're going to be holding for that round. I don't feel like there's one universal chamber trip spot on bind, so you can get creative with this one. Moving on to the next map, let's talk about Breeze, one of Chamber's best maps. Breeze is one of my favorite maps to play chamber on because he's just so good at taking these long range duels. For A site Breeze, what I like to do is I like to put one TP here in Ivy and then the other one behind yellow. I'll just basically tuck in Ivy like this and then have another teammate of mine bait for me and break the drone and dart and all that. And when the enemies all rush in, a lot of the time they won't even clear this. And if you do get spotted and you're whiffing or something, you can just TP back behind yellow and get a reposition. If I'm opping or if I've already played an Ivy and they've seen me do that, I'll just put a TP back here behind the left pyramid and hold cave. This is a really safe bet. Or if you want to have your teammate hold that, you can go double doors and you could put your TP down double doors and kind of hold an off angle over here. Super solid setups here. Any of these really work out for me. What you can also do is you can hold down halls. This is also a really good spot for chamber to play. What I like to do is I like to put one TP on the left side of halls and then the other one on the right. This way I can hold down halls with an op or a rifle or whatever I have, or I can go peek from nest and then TP out if I need to. I do this setup a lot and I get a lot of free kills doing this as well. Now let's talk about B site a little bit. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't really play chamber on B site too much. I feel like he's much stronger on A, but when I do play B, the most common spot that I like to play is I'll put my TP right behind pillar, the main pillar of the site, and then I'll put my other one in CT. This basically makes it so that if I'm opping, I can hold window or I can hold main depending on where they've been pushing. Or if I want to play for audio, I can just hide here and then wait for a drone to come through or wait for someone to dash in, and then I can kind of play this pillar to my advantage and peek off of sound and catch someone lacking and TP out in a second. If you're feeling really ambitious, you can just put your TP right in B main and just peek B main with it. I don't really recommend doing this though. I feel like this works a lot better with the jet dash because I do feel like the jet dash pops a slight bit faster than the chamber TP. But if you do want to catch your opponents off guard, this does work. As far as your trip goes, there's basically one spot on this map that you're going to want to put your trip, and that's in halls. If you're putting your trip down anywhere other than halls, you're selling your team. Usually I'll just put mine right here at the start of the round before the barrier goes down. This trip kind of sucks though because they can still get to the door and open it. This is just basically making it so that they can't lurk past the door and get into your spawn. If you're playing halls, you can just wait for the barrier to drop and then put it deeper so that they basically have to run into it if they want to open up the halls door. You could also play off of this as well, like hide in halls, wait for the trip to go off and then swing off of it. You can do some really nice setups here. Oh, and one more spot that I forgot to mention on B is playing on top of the pillars is really underrated as well. Like this spot right here on the front right pillar, you'll catch so many people off guard if they're lazy about droning and darting. Chamber works really well with verticality, so just make sure that you're trying to get creative with it. Alright, moving on from this, let's talk about the next map, which is Fracture. I think Fracture might be my favorite map to play chamber on. I feel like this map was literally designed for chamber mains. If you guys didn't already know, the map Fracture is actually getting a rework in the next patch, so they're changing a lot of stuff like dish, they're changing ropes on A, and they're changing arcade as well. I was thinking about leaving Fracture out of this video because it's going to be changed soon, but after looking at all the changes, all of these setups that I'm showing you guys will still work pretty well with the new Fracture update. Starting off with A site on Fracture, what I really like to do is I put one TP on the barrier on A main, and then I put the other one in spawn. Typically teams will be running a breach on this map, so usually what I do is I play anti-stun or counter-stun, where I sit back far away from the angle, wait for the stun to come through, and then once it does, I walk up so they think it's clear. This nets me so many free kills. It's just like farming simulator over here. And you can get 1 or 2 and then leave in an instant, and then you can walk through the smoke and go and fight door. You can also put down your TP on site as well, so you TP from A main to site, but this is a little bit risky, as if they're util dumping you, you might die here. Another setup I like to do on A is I'll put one TP on site right here and then the other one in spawn, and I'll kind of hide and then wait for them to come in and then peek off of audio. Again, this works really well for catching people off guard, and a lot of the times people aren't expecting you here. This site is amazing to op on. I love opping A main or on site depending on how the enemies are clearing their angles. Basically, your entire goal as chamber is to try to get a first pick. Trying to get a cheeky kill and then get out is your goal as chamber, and getting that man advantage is what I love to do. Moving on from this, let's talk about B site a little bit in the setups on B. There's only one real main setup that I'd like to do on here, where I put my TP right in this little cubby behind the double stack on site, and then I put the other one behind Jen in the corner. What I do from here is I tuck in this cubby here, and my back is against the wall, and I'm kind of in this off angle position. This basically makes it so that when the enemies are rushing into site, they're forced to clear the left side first while they're still exposed to you, because they're not expecting you to be in this angle. It's hard for me to explain and visualize it to you guys, but this spot is really good for catching people off guard. They basically have to gamble whether or not to peek left or right, and 99 out of 100 times they're peeking left because they're expecting you to be tucked further in on the left side. This is like really hard to explain. I'm trying my best here, but this spot, trust me, it'll get you a lot of free kills. People won't clear you. And if they do clear you, or if you get Viper mollied or breach aftershocked, or if they find out you're there somehow, all you gotta do is press E and you're gone. From here, you can peek arcade or whatever you want to do, but this is not going to be possible in the next rework of Fracture, because I believe they're getting rid of this 50-50 angle here. Another great spot to play is on the little cubby default plant spot on site. Just putting a TP here, playing an off angle, waiting for them to run up the stairs, and then TPing out is always a solid bet. If I'm opping, what I'll usually do is I'll put a TP down B main and just swing B main with my op. This works most of the time, but if you do this a lot, they'll catch on to you and kind of counter your strat. A safe spot to op on site is putting your TP right next to the stairs here and kind of holding this pixel angle. It's not really a pixel angle actually, but most teams will have kind of a hard time clearing you here. Because the Fracture meta right now is breach and maybe fade or something, they don't have a drone or anything really to clear you, so a lot of these spots are really OP. As far as your trip placement goes, there are only 2 real spots that I recommend tripping. The first spot is on dish right here. If I'm playing A, which is like 99% of the time, this is the main spot that I'll trip. It basically allows it so that you can have one person hold double doors and then one person, which should be you, hold A main, and then you guys don't have to worry about dish and you'll know if someone's there. The other spot that you can do, which is still effective but not as effective, is put it arcade. Arcade is another kind of awkward spot to hold, so putting it right here makes it so that they have to trip it and trigger it if they want to walk through. Even with the new Fracture update, I still think tripping both of these spots will be beneficial, but arcade is really wide now, so we'll see how it plays out. Alrighty, moving on from Fracture, let's talk about the next map, which is Haven. Haven is the only map with 3 sites, so let's start off with the first site and talk about A. By far, my favorite spot to play with Chamber on Haven A site is on top of this box right next to short. Nobody, and I mean nobody, clears this spot on pistol round, and you're basically guaranteed a free kill here on pistol. If I'm playing Jet, I play in this spot a lot, and this place is just really OP. Nobody will clear this. This is basically the main strat I go for. If you want, you could also put a TP long and kind of hold long and play for info and TP out if you see too many. That's always a safe bet, but you could also play short as well. I really don't feel like A is the best spot to play with Chamber, but you can definitely get away with some things. Let's talk about B site though a little bit. I'd say B is a pretty solid site for Chamber. The most common setup I'll do is I'll put one TP on top of Gen and then the other one back site, and I'll post up here with an op. This is a pretty common spot to op, but it gives you a really nice peek on window and also bottom mid, slash grass area. You can basically solo hold B if you're posted up here with an op, and it'll be really hard for them to fight you. You could also tuck on top of these books or whatever this is on the right side of sight and kind of play in this little cubby and wait for them to run in, but this spot is really hard to get away with if they do have flash characters. That's pretty much all the main spots that I would recommend playing on B site. Now let's talk a little bit about C, which I think is Chamber's best site. There are so many angles that you can post up on C. My favorite one is probably on top of the generator or the main box. Playing up here on top gen is so good because it's so hard for the enemies to clear you, especially if you have someone baiting for you. I like to op up here as well. I like to rifle up here and hold an off angle on the left so they have to walk up. You can just basically play mind games with your enemies almost on top of here. It can be really annoying to clear without a drone, so this is honestly just a safe spot to play at. Another great spot that I like to play at is either behind back plat or on top of plat. If I'm playing behind plat, usually I'll tuck and wait for them to get on site if I'm rifling, or if I have an op, I'll just take a peek out on long. Same goes for top plat. This is also a great spot to op at, but it's also a great spot to hide in and have someone bait for you, and you can get like a multi-frag here if the enemies don't clear you, which I feel like people don't really clear this spot very well at all, actually. You could also play in garage too if you want. That's a pretty good spot too. It's pretty safe. It's really important that your team has garage control. I feel like that really is a big part of taking C, is splitting through garage. Another great spot to play in is on top of logs. This is a great spot to hold. You could also play close right or on the close left box. There's just so much that you can do on this site, and this is Chamber's playground right here. As far as tripping spots go, I would recommend either putting your trip on B or in garage. I'm pretty sure everyone universally agrees that either garage or B are pretty safe spots to trip. I prefer tripping B because usually I like just locking down garage myself and then retaking B. Even though retaking B can be really scuffed a lot of the time if they have a lot of smokes and mollies up. I just love playing Chamber on C, and I feel like opping on C and also B as well to lock down mid will be Chamber's strong suit on Haven. I could already tell this video is going to be so long, so let's move on to the next map, which is Icebox. I feel like I've said this for every single map so far, but Icebox again is one of Chamber's strongest maps. The main spot I like to hold with Chamber on A site is I'll put one TP on top of rafters, and then I'll put one either behind screen or on the staircase. This basically allows me to go for quick little peeks to see if I can catch someone lacking while they're running up and be able to get out safely to retake with my team if I have to. If you watched my opping guide as well, I really love opping on this spot and holding belt. I feel like this is super underrated and I get a lot of free kills doing this. Another spot that I love to play is I love tucking behind gen and putting a TP in this corner, and then I'll put my other one again on stairs or behind screen, and I'll just rat in this little corner and have my teammates bait and brig util and stuff like that. And again, I'll get like 2 or 3 free frags by doing this. This is honestly just a pretty solid site for Chamber to play on, and you can do other plays as well. Like, I don't do this very much, but you can put the TP on top of nest, and you can tuck behind nest and wait for them to get close, and then get kind of a cheeky angle like this on them, and then TP out to rafter, and then swing out, take another one. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do on this site that I would recommend using. Even like top screens is a great spot to use. A lot of the people have a hard time clearing this, and there's a lot that you can do. Moving on, let's talk about B site a little bit. B is a really nice site for Chamber because you can really toy with people around yellow. You can play on top of yellow and wait for them to run up and then do a quick peek and TP out. You can hold with an op as well, like you can hold garage or B main with an op up here, and that'll be really strong as well. What I like doing a lot though is I'll put a TP behind yellow and I'll hold kind of an off angle and wait for them to kind of run into my crosshair while trying to clear me. I like to put my TP in either top site or in tube, or maybe even sometimes behind site so that I can have a really nice position to retake with my team. Sometimes I even like putting my TP close B main, and then maybe I'll walk up to get an aggressive first pick or something like that. It just really depends on how I'm feeling or how the enemy team is playing out these rounds. It's super easy to get away with opping on this map as well with Chamber. I feel like you should definitely be opping here. I usually like to just talk it over with my jet, whether he wants to op or I want to op or whatever, and we make it work out. As far as trip spots go on this map, I think everyone universally agrees that you should be tripping kitchen. This makes it so that people who walk up tube will get hit by the trip and they can't lurk up tube into kitchen. I feel like putting your trip anywhere else besides this spot is kind of troll. The one exception would be if you're running like a double sentinel lineup for some reason and have a sage that wants to wall tube, then I guess it'd be fine to put your trip somewhere else, but typically this is what I would do unless you're walking down tube. That's another thing that you can do is if you're walking down tube and fighting for mid heavy, then you technically don't really need to do this trip. Alrighty, let's talk about the last and newest map in Valorant, which is Pearl. I love playing Chamber on Pearl. I'm pretty much insta-locking Chamber on this map because of how well he can hold down the sights. Just to get this out of the way, I feel like if you're playing Chamber on A site on Pearl, you're kind of trolling and he's much better on B, but I'll talk about some setups that you can do on A anyways. I feel like the main spot that I'd want to play on A is kind of in this connector area between Art and A main. This will make it so that I can fight Art if I need to, but I can also help back up my team on A main if I need to as well. As far as my other TP goes, I would probably put it near spawn so I can quickly rotate to B if they're going B. Either that or maybe secret so that I can help back up my team if it's a full A rush. But yeah, I really wouldn't recommend playing Chamber on this site. He's not very good for holding this spot down, and I would definitely recommend having like a Fade or someone with more heavy util to help hold this. Moving on to B site, there are a lot of different setups that you can do for B. If you're a really aggressive player and an aggressive chamber, you can even push up to B main on the pillar area, put your TP on pillar, and then you could post up here with an op, or just play an off angle with a rifle, get one, and get out. I hardly ever do this, and I feel like this is kind of a troll play to make because a lot of the times they'll fade dog you, but if you're playing against kind of a clueless team, this could be farming simulator right here. The main spot that I like to use is I'll put my TP right behind this pillar right here, or behind the ticket booth, whichever one you want to do. And I'll put my other TP on heaven. With this setup, I can basically hold an off angle and just wait for them to run into my crosshair on site, and it'll be really easy to pick them off. I'll just put up a clip on screen right now of me playing in one of these spots. This is just super nice to have.
B. So
I just love how you can post up anywhere really on this site, and you can get out instantly and always be in a good situation for yourself. Opping as well, this is Chamber's best site to op on. The main spot that I like to do is I put my TP kind of like in the center of everything right here, just so half of the circle of the TP range is sticking out, and I'll put my other one heaven or CT or something, and then I'll post up like right here. You could also go back halls and op from there, but I feel like this is more expected, and I feel like you'll get very easily pre-aimed here if you're going up against a team that is somewhat decent at the game. You can even just press up against this front wall as well. There's so much you can do on this site. Another really good spot, an underrated spot actually to play on this site, is behind the screen on the far right. Now, after playing this spot, I've realized that this thing is made of cardboard. Bullets do so much damage through this, and it's super easy to get wallbanged here, so I think if you're gonna play here, it's really important that you have someone baiting for you. This spot is really sketchy, but if they don't clear you, you'll get so many free kills here. And talking about tripping spots, I feel like the main spot to trip on this map is right here in alleyway. This B link area, this connector area, is prime season for lurkers, so making sure that you have this tripped is really important. I don't really see anywhere else that you'd want a trip really, so I would just recommend putting it here. And I think that covers every site on every map for Chamber in Valorant. These are all the best TP setups that have worked for me. Like I mentioned at the very start of the video, I've been playing Chamber for a really long time, and learning all of these different setups took me a while, and trying to find the best spots to put these TPs down. If you aren't abusing Chamber, you're trolling, and definitely use him until he gets nerfed. But anyways guys, if you did enjoy this video or found it helpful, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button. We're super close to 100k, and once we hit that, that is going to be absolutely insane. I want to do a 100k special, but I don't really even know what I'd want to do for that. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, go down in the comment section and give me suggestions for a 100k video. I was thinking about doing a Q&A, but I don't know if that'd be lame or not, and I just want to do something that everyone would enjoy. I just want to thank all of you for all of your support on the channel, and this truly means the world to me. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day or night to watch this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.
Yeah. shopping at Ross, catch me shopping down at Saks Fifth. You cannot play me, baby, I am not no average. Walk into the store, got like 5K on my damn wrist. Had to blow that girl, cause she always loves some fan shit. Catch you wearing front of mine, catch you up in traffic. See my style, stuff she calling back, cause I have